Good evening, the 18th of August 2020. Welcome to News Report. My name is SALIFYANJI BWEUPE and I'm joined by
CHIMWANGA KALALA.
Well, today is Tuesday, and obviously in the world out there we call it a Tuesday. So is there anything special that you have chosen to do this particular day?
Nothing in particular, just
Okay.
typical Tuesday for me.
Right. Okay, so before we get into the leading stories, we just want to thank you who's joining us on your Top Star channel 112 as well as our Facebook live feed. And if you have any comments and contributions, please be sure to send them to 0976-599-547, as well as your comments on our Facebook live feed also are welcome as well. And so we get into the leading stories for this evening. So opening schools for non-examination grades would be suicidal, says NAQEZ.
Police not allowed to fine 750 for not wearing masks. That's from the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Stephen Kampiongo.
Right, and the WHO warns that young people are the ones that are driving the spread of the coronavirus. So let's get right into the details of the first story. So obviously we have, run in the previous shows, stories to do with, the ECZ Education Council of Zambia, and also, the impact that the COVID-19 has had on the examination classes as well as non-examination classes as well. We've seen a situation now where only the restrictions, from school have been lifted just for those that are in examination classes as well. Those are the ones that are only attending classes and will be allowed to actually write the exams and everything like that. But let me hear from you. What do you think the impact now is, pre, now, and post? What do you think the impact will be? The whole process from when it started and the process of where we are at right now and not knowing what to expect.
I think for education, I think it goes down to the pupil themselves, like the individual pupils.
Right.
We've seen at schools. Some pupils will do just fine. I think overall, although this might be a big issue, I think some pupils will do just fine. Some, I think maybe in schools in remote areas might struggle a bit, but I think for the schools in the city, we shouldn't have much of an issue. I think we tend to overlook the learning outcomes of pupils in these schools. Are they even learning when they go to school?
Right.
I think for most of the schools, I don't think they are learning. So I think it doesn't make much of a difference. So it's just up to the pupils to pick up.
Yeah, and the challenge also has been access to e-learning channels. So that's because of an availability or a lack of having data or having a smartphone or mobile phone to be able to access classes online. And apart from that, obviously when it comes to TV now, which is obviously another platform where pupils are able or encouraged to catch up. You've already mentioned that rural areas would be the ones that may have a huge impact when it comes to pupils progressing and also learning what they need to learn as well. But as you, Chimwanga, do you think there's something more that the government can do right now to ensure that each and every student or pupil out there is has access to the current running syllabus or just any of the courses that subjects that they're attending or need to attend?
I think there's always something that the government can do. There's always room for improvement. I think maybe they can try printing out some educational materials that they can distribute, especially in the villages and the like. But then again, it just has to go to like individual families. How can you help your student at home? Like what can you do for them? So I think ultimately the families and these communities will have to figure out a way to navigate through this period. I think it's not all up to the government. They can only do so much. Yeah. But anyway, the challenges are there. As you've said, the accessibility to all these e-learning platforms and the TV stations. We've seen the issue of power as well.
Yes,
so that will contribute to the lack of access of these platforms that government might offer. So ultimately,
and for me, I'm thinking it's actually another challenge, you know, when it comes to parents and guardians out there. There's always this notion of, you know, leaving everything up to the teacher to actually teach, you know, the student. But how about where they're coming from in their homes? And I think this is the biggest challenge that they've had to face, and I hope many, you know, are trying to just overcome it and just try to find a way in which they can encourage their child to also, you know, study or assist them in studying as well. But then again, obviously, when it comes to how you help out your child, not everyone is the same. So not everyone is learned. But then again, so still, even then, the community has to really step up. Even for the teachers, I'm thinking maybe when it comes to like community schools or just down to whether it's primary or secondary level, there should be a way in which I feel by now the headmaster must have called a meeting, called all the teachers in and said, okay, this is what's going on. I know you can't, you know, attend to everyone on full time, and we only have examination classes that are coming in. So what are your ideas that we can actually now work on to ensure that each and every student is able to access, you know, the subjects or catch up, you know, where they need to. So where need be, probably they apply to the ministry, you know, in the particular area to actually supply, if it's paper, if it's internet, if it's anything, so that they're able to print out, you know, some of these teachings, what do you call them?
Materials and handouts.
Exactly,
and
when you prepare the whole the topic anyway for a particular course. So teachers would know better. But I feel, yes, everyone has to be involved. I think even for teachers, in as much as, or whether you work for the government, you also need to be innovative. You also need to really think outside the box.
Have you noticed the reluctance by most government workers?
Yes.
Most civil servants have that laid-back attitude towards their job, where they just like go in, nobody's there to really follow up with them and supervise and ensure that they're putting in as much work as they should be putting in. I think so. There's that reluctance from civil servants mostly. So
and you never know. For me, I feel you never know when actually the wheels will turn. And you know, when you're told that when you go for an interview, the first few seconds or minutes are all you have to actually impress, you know, your interview or your potential employer as well. So in the same way, it doesn't matter where you are or what you are doing. I think what matters is that attitude that you have towards your work. And in as much as maybe you might not be recognized at that particular time, but there will always come a day when your work will be seen, and maybe not by your own people. Some will say, they say that a hero is not, you know, a hero until they die, or a hero is not really celebrated, you know, by its own people, but you find someone else are the ones that will actually, you know, come in to actually celebrate, you know, someone's, you know, dedication and work that they have actually put in.
So now, before we even stray too far away from the topic, I think, do you think schools are in a position where they can open?
Right now, I do not think so, especially that we have a spike in the number of cases, and more people now are being careless, as in going out, moving aimlessly, I mean, without a plan. So I do feel that this is not the right time to actually open schools, and I'm actually behind the ministry. If they say no, schools will not open until probably a time when everything has eased or come down, then yes, we might need to go.
What happens to the people who only went to school for a term, just the first time for the non-examination classes? Because
I feel everyone has to repeat, and unfortunately, but I'm saying to someone that is in grade 11 probably, and they're looking forward to being out in the society, I'm saying, please relax, like enjoy this moment where you have been given another opportunity to actually, you know, maybe acquire, certain skills or knowledge from the environment around. And also, I feel like there's really nothing to rush into, especially when it comes to, non-employment right now. But if there's anything that you can learn, especially from a home, if you're coming from a family where you have your parents that, work so hard, try to learn what they do. Pick up one or two things from them. So yeah, that's my stance. And what do you think? Do you think schools should open?
They shouldn't, but I think these students should be allowed to proceed to the next grade. As you said, like, normally what stops people from proceeding to the other grade? You find some people won't attend classes or miss a term or two, but still at the end of the day, if it's a non-examination class, they get to proceed to the other grade, regardless of whether they attended the whole school year or not. Yeah, so they get to proceed. I say they proceed and probably just make the exam a little...
Yes.
Yeah, a little balance. So here...
Yeah, and I was going to actually mention that because now in the details of this particular report, an example is given where like grade 11s can proceed to grade 12, but when it comes to writing the exams, they give them exams, based on the subjects that were, or the topics that they were learning in a particular subject, and not really make it so, broad, like dealing with something, even the things that you don't actually know. But do you think based on that, it will encourage a bit of some mess when it comes to pupils?
I think it goes back to the same question, like, what are people learning in these schools? Like, a grade 12 student, like, what do they know? Like, I don't know.
I'm thinking you're trying to drive to a certain point, but you're just, like, keeping it in.
Yeah, but, like, what are people learning from these schools? Like, I've been highly critical of this, where I was in class with, that was 11th or 12th grade. I was in class with some people who still couldn't read, and that was in the 12th grade.
Right.
Like, so what are they learning? How did they get there? So, yeah, I think all those things have to be considered.
For me, I'm only thinking of one word when it comes to what you've just said, relevance. I think everything that we are doing right now, I think it's just a way of the universe trying to tell us we need to actually change the way that we are doing things or the way that we are thinking. Maybe this is a time when we should be doing more with less, So probably what you may learn is just what you might actually need to get you by. But what that less should do is be able to put you in a position where you're able to create something bigger and unexpected, or something that people actually never thought anyone can do. So according to a statement by the NAQ, this is National Action for Quality Education in Zambia. They have declared 2020 as a dead year for non-examination grades as well. So I'm sure there were debates that were held, and they couldn't have reached to this point without having to, have any dialogue or try to, listen in from people there. And so through consultations and careful analysis of the crisis of desks in schools, the organization concluded that this year would not suffice for learners not writing their examinations rather. Yeah,
I totally agree with what they said.
Yeah,
you've seen the shortage of desks in school, like 2 people have to sit on one desk, maybe even 3 in some schools. So that issue as well. Then you have afternoon classes, morning classes. There's just like too many. Schools are overcrowded at the moment, so I don't think it's quite
about
possible.
Reducing the hours of learning?
I was actually thinking that earlier. I think that would work as well.
So that everyone is, accommodated somehow. Yes. So it might take a bit of some juggling. Yeah,
they could maybe focus on English, mathematics, maybe a couple of sciences.
People want to be doctors. Yeah, but I do understand what you mean. So if, let's say, that's why I feel when you have the counseling and guidance teachers as well, they're supposed to help you actually find yourself, know your interests, and then help you, learn towards what your passion might actually be. So I feel that even in this moment, I think the focus should be on what you want to be, in future. But
focus on what you can do. I think this is a good chance for people who feel like they're hard done by the schools. They don't get their money's worth or their time's worth when they attend school. I think this is an opportunity for them to prove to their parents, school doesn't work out for me. Here's what I can do. I've been productive.
I'm going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, something like that. So I've been productive. away from school. Here's what I can do. So I think this is an opportunity for
Right.
students as well. So
And I think also when it comes to skills training, it shouldn't limit. It shouldn't be only for people that have probably failed or people that could not really get to a certain level, but it should encompass everyone. So beginning from maybe even like the primary level of education to secondary, it should go on like that so that everyone is well equipped as they go. You never know how it might work for them. And personally, I've been with someone that has probably might have even written exams more than 3 times and still they could not make it. So I feel like even the same way that they say probably business is not for everyone, it's the same thing to go with maybe education or school. In fact, not education, school might not be for everyone because we learn every day, so education is it's still there. But when it comes to school, I think there are certain people that will find that their strength is in something that is not even on the list of syllabuses that they could probably be doing at that particular time. Right. Okay. So do we go into the next story, or do you have something to say?
I think for that's that.
Right.
So in the next story, the Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampiongo has called on police officers to desist from arresting and charging those not wearing masks. So the fine that people have been paying, the $750 if they were found abrogating the COVID-19 regulations on wearing masks and the like. So they were paying $750, so that has been abolished now. So people won't have to pay the $750 anymore.
What about those that already paid the $750? What happens then?
Tell them to go and get it back.
And if they were given a receipt, probably go back and claim for it. But
have you heard of this funny thing saying that bomb must pass a change or not refund?
No.
So I think
so once you pay it goes, it's your loss. Anyway, on this particular story, I feel that I'm sure, like we said, we wanted to wait and see how it was going to pan out, and definitely no sooner than yes. See, so that has applied now. So it really hasn't even been that long since this charge was actually put up, and you already see that a lot of people are defying the law, whether it's the law keepers themselves, the people that maintain the law, that is the police officers, and maybe even the citizens will try to pay their way out of paying the whole 750, because I really want to doubt that anyone has had to actually pay the whole 750 kwacha fine. But it is very unfortunate that people continue to be careless about how they move around. This is just, I think it should have been a rather different example for someone out there to actually see the repercussions of not actually following the law. It's very unfortunate that when it comes to monies, there's always that aspect of corruption that we still are fighting, and we are really fighting it hard. And
so just to cut you short, I just wanted to find out what reasoning or maybe how much thought was put into place before they actually decided that 750 would be the penalty. Who came up with that, and how much thought did they put into it? Because I think just from the get-go, it looked like it wasn't going to work out. We know how Zambia works. We have corruption. People don't have money. So are you going to hold them in cells for 6 months for not wearing a mask? So
what I feel should have been done in this particular case, if they still wanted to maintain these charges, was once you get arrested, the same way that it happens with threats and they find you, with an offense, they will take you to the fast track court, and then the magistrate there will obviously tell you whether you need to pay or the case will be thrown out, of which I doubt if a lot of those cases are simply thrown out, because people have to pay forthwith. Personal experience. Because people have to pay forthwith. So in the same way, I do feel that what should have been done was, where, yes, the officer will arrest you, you will go, you appear in court, and then once you are found with the case to answer, then obviously you will either be fined or you will be locked up for a particular period of time, and not have left this on the officers to actually collect the monies. Because now it's like the whole police force, police service now somehow is rather dated when it comes to
how they handle the money.
exactly, yes.
Right, yeah.
So that's the thing. That's my take on this story.
So I think let's just quickly have a look at what the minister had to say.
Right.
Command structures. That this, I know that of late we have had some complaints coming from the members of the public in the manner some of our police officers have interpreted the statutory instrument. We are aware that in the statutory instrument there is a provision which talks about the punitive kind of measures that should be taken by those who are contravening the SI and the directives given by His Excellency the President. And I'll quote section 14 of the SI. A person who fails to comply with a direction, prohibition, or restriction of an authorized officer, or otherwise contravenes these regulations, commits an offense, and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 2,500 penalty units, or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months, or to both. Now, the enforcement of this section and interpretation of this section is certainly not with the police. The interpretation of this section is to be done by the courts of law. So that's why they are saying conviction. Police service does not convict. Police arrest suspects who are then subjected to the due process of the courts. And as they are saying, upon conviction. Now, regrettably, we have had some officers in certain areas who have taken it upon themselves to collect admission of guilt fees from members of the public. And I want to make a clarion call, just as the police commander has already done, Honorable Minister, to all our command structures, that this matter must be dealt with immediately. And so what that means, I have here the communication from the police command to all the commissioners of police in the divisions, all the 10 divisions that in which this matter has been brought to their attention and guidance has been provided. And in this guidance, the police command is directing all the police commissioners to monitor the implementation of the presidential directives and enforcement of this SI 22 in their respective provinces, and ensure that the enforcement is carried out within the framework of the law. Officers are hereby restrained from arresting and charging fines to members of the public not wearing masks, but instead they should be able to warn and sensitize violators to minimize the risk of the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Two thoughts from that particular clip. If I'm found on the road, I'm not putting on a mask, and a police officer stops me, who do I report to? Can I report him for charging me or for asking me to pay a fine because I'm not putting on a mask, sorry. And I feel that somehow it's still very unclear about what the officers are actually supposed to do, what's their jurisdiction at this particular point when they find someone that is not putting on a facial mask as well.
So I think basically what the minister was saying, the officers are just supposed to sensitize you and tell you to wear your mask. So I think just that civil exchange.
Why is the communication so contradictory? Today we have this particular statement that's given. Tomorrow the statement is reversed or something else is said. It's very confusing.
No wonder I was asking how much thought is put into all this. But I think what the minister was saying actually makes a lot of sense. Like normally the normal thing is that police officers and citizens should
before
have
you
that
say
casual
before you support him and say yes, what he's saying is making sense. Who directed the police officers to start fining people, to start charging people this 750 kwacha? Where did it come from?
Should have been the police IG.
So it did not come from the Ministry of Home Affairs. They did not approve. Because I feel that for anything to happen at this point, there has to be certain communication that was given and agreed to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. That was published in the newspapers. No one rescinded any statement. No one said, oh no, that's a wrong statement. People are not supposed to be charged that particular amount of money. So why is this changing now? Is it because now there was a police officer that was taken in and that was slapped, in front of people? For not wearing a mask, that the decision was like, okay, no, wait, because this will just embarrass our very own people?
I think it's just one of those things where, in theory, it sounds like a good idea. Maybe if we say pay 750, a lot of people will be afraid. They won't even
We can't afford theory at this particular point.
But always,
we need decisions
like
and
before
actions that
they
are going to
implement
work.
it, they have to have some ideas. I think the idea didn't work this time, and they've rescinded the decision, which isn't so bad on their part. Because like the idea didn't work. Like they tried. At least they tried anyway. So
not that it's funny, but how you're saying it is just what's making me
they tried.
laugh.
Yeah, they had an idea.
But I really did think that people were shaken a bit. I think they really started following, the guidelines as well. And looking at one experience where I actually decided to use public transport, people were so relaxed when it comes to putting on facial masks as well. The conductor will not say anything, the driver will not say anything, and people will still be squeezed on the buses as well. How far has that gone? Are people still going to, are buses supposed to only carry a certain number of people, or that also has changed as well? So I think certain things need to keep on being preached or emphasized for people to actually get it. We can't say one thing today and forget about it tomorrow. Sometimes a human being becomes just like a child, and they need constant reminder of what they're supposed to do. We are living in a time where a lot of people are dying, not just in the country, but world over as well. And the only reason why I'm sure the president had to come up with this decision or engage the Home Affairs Minister as well as the police is so that to prevent the number of cases from going up as well. So people, I don't think anyone needs to really enforce us, apply any force to actually do the right thing. We already know what this virus, can do, and we just really need to be strict about how, we manage our lives and also other people as well.
All right, so I actually agree with you very much on the point where you said we have to treat people like children, just the patience and just trying to see how best we can interact with them and communicate the risk involved in all this. I think that's a very valid point. I think just to take it in a different context, we have a lot of issues. People say sugar is bad, but we see people eating a lot of sugar. Say so much of alcohol is bad. We've seen drunkards. Yeah, exactly. So people don't really know what's good for them. Okay, they do, but it's not as straightforward and as easy to follow what's good for you, like for most things. So I think there's that aspect as well. So I think the risk has to be communicated like efficiently and just make sure somebody understands what's going on. If possible, give them alternatives. Here's what you can do to fill up or just ensure that you're in line with what's happening.
Right.
Yeah, so
is it the president of Uganda though that said something about why should we apply force when you know that there are risks that come with this particular virus. Even if we force the police on you, the police also have families as well, and that's one thing that we also need to take into consideration. You know, the law enforcement officers are also human beings. They also go home to their families as well, and they need their lives to be protected. The same way that we're looking out for healthcare workers as well, it's the same way that we should also look out for, you know, the police, the people that are in the service as well. And so the onus is just really upon us. Yeah.
I agree with what she's saying.
Anyway, on that particular note, we'll go on our first break and we'll come back after this.
Masenza bwanji Chumende sako na iwe pali pako ma 20 apolo ma 5 kwa jeri
na makoino sasijira kumuzonda
makoino songa chinjeko ku bantu abana ndio top kana na 5 hours pamene pano leyo
kamba naye.
That is why you need to get an e-token, sir. It is faster and easier.
To what? The e-tolling card is a National Road Fund Agency card. So all you have to do is just credit it in Dalama and you'll be able to use it to get Monga Panusu. To avoid the inconveniences, so you have to start looking for a 20 kwa chocolate cherusha bantu so.
Introducing the electronic toll card. It's easier, faster, and secure. Access the e-toll cards from all toll gates across the country or the agency's head office in Lusaka at only 30 kwacha.
This message is brought to you by the National Road Fund Agency, a sustainable road fund.
Welcome back. It's a lovely Tuesday and you are watching News Report with me, SALIFYANJI BWEUPE, and my colleague CHIMWANGA KALALA. And so we were talking about, you know, the 750 fine that has now been phased off by the Home Affairs Minister, and so police are not allowed to charge anyone that amount of money, but to sensitize and ensure that everyone is following SI 21 and 22 as well. So instead of charging and arresting anyone, they should actually, you know, be more calm and just encourage, you know, the public to take good care of themselves and probably let them know about the consequences of not doing that.
Yeah, like, how often is it that police officers in Zambia and just citizens or maybe suspects have like a casual conversation? So is
they're human beings.
But
it's
just like, how frequent does it happen? It's like, it's always like, I don't know, there's some sort of vendetta between the two. It's like you're guilty before.
No, people are scared. Like, there's certain places where people are so uncomfortable being. One is the police, the other one is hospitals as well. So these are the two major ones that I actually know about, where people are actually scared of going. But I think somehow we should also be at a point where we are able to treat the police or see them as human beings as well. Sometimes it's okay to just go and find out. And the only problem is when you go to many of these government institutions is that you find people that are very angry. And you're like, at least, you know, you have certain privileges. I'm just here to find out information. But you will be dismissed in a very rude way, and you would regret having gone there. And I just feel that the system also has to change as well. The mentality and the attitude towards work, I think, has to change. You are dealing with people, you're not dealing with animals. And for someone to actually go to a certain place to find out information, they just want to be a good citizen and follow, you know, the laws that are standing at that particular time in the country as well. So maybe sometimes, Chimwanga, take a walk, go to the police station, say hi.
Yeah,
So how are you doing? I'll brought you some lunch, you know. But not because you're trying to buy them, but maybe sometimes there's certain things that we just need to know. Like how many of us now actually, even when it comes to like career days, you find kids that dress up in all sorts of, you know, professions, police, pilot, and
before
nurses.
the 4th or 5th grade.
Yes,
Yeah, so
but how often do they actually, you know, have someone in the service actually talk to them and just tell them about how good it is or how great it is to actually be, you know, a law enforcement officer as well? I just feel like if we get to a certain point, if we get to a certain point, I think maybe we'll have, you know, better understanding of each other. On the other side, you will know your limits as well. It's different when I come to you and I'm just shouting at you, or, you know, without even having to hear your side. I'm the one, it's just one way and you're not really responding, or we're not communicating in any way. It's very difficult to actually know how to agree or meet, you know, halfway. But we can dialogue or have certain conversations, and I go to police and say, oh, my child wants to be a policeman or a policewoman, please, can you come and talk to them? I think we want to see what happens in movies actually happen in real life.
Yeah, seems like the profession is sort of looked down on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the police have a role to play to actually just, you know, we need to see them in a better way. We need to see them as the heroes that they are, and so we can celebrate them better as well. They are doing a good job. Yeah. Okay, so we're still dealing with the police story, and this one is about you know, handling of monies.
Yeah.
So Chimwanga is an offender. You are over speeding. That's a traffic officer, but anyway, you are over speeding, and you know, you need to be fined. So instead of appearing, you know, at the police office, especially if it's at night, at that particular, like in the morning, instead you can actually pay for that fine at that particular moment. So the police officers now have launched the point of sale machine, so you can actually swipe and pay your fine right there and then, and collect your receipts.
I'm quite eager to see what benefits this will bring, because what?
Don't like it when you say that.
I'm still trying to figure out the purpose it's supposed to save, but I think it's quite good. It's a good thing to save people the time they have to go to banks.
Yeah.
Just to make
But what's the
deposits.
angle as well? Are the police officers pocketing the money that they receive from the citizens, or probably it's just not good practice to actually have police officers going to hand in the money that they may have collected for as a fine?
I think so. Just the handling of money. Money comes with a lot of issues, like whether you're a police officer, you're
issues or temptations.
Yeah. So I think just the handling of money, if it can be avoided, I think that would be better. And then they're talking about the coronavirus as well, saying it can be transmitted through surfaces as well. So I think that's one angle as well. So
right. And everything is moving towards digital. And yes, I think it's actually a good thing. We've seen rights are moving towards the digital side, where you can pay for your road tax online or pay for your license as well. Although I'm sure they're still working on their system you know, at this particular moment because of certain challenges that people may have complained about. But I do feel this is also, you know, a good move also from the police service as well. And well, the Honorable Minister says that the machines will be handy, as it will allow members of the public to pay for fines and fees even after banking hours, as the collected revenue will be transferred directly to the transit account. I have a question that I don't want to ask.
Just go ahead and ask.
When it comes to monies that are paid, government schools now are almost free, right? They only pay for PTA, maybe uniforms, depending on which community schools, eh? So, where does that money go?
The school fees?
Yes.
Government schools?
Yes.
I think that's used to maintain the schools and probably
What about the schools is actually maintained? Because I feel like there are certain schools that you would go to and they'll still look the same way they looked in 1964.
But then you
Even
have to
worse.
realize that they
and
only
look at
pay
all those community
once
schools
a
in rural
year.
areas.
Yeah,
Yes, it's once a year, but I feel it's all about how you manage.
the money.
Yes. And it's not one school. So obviously there is a need that is, raised when that money is collected. And you're like, okay, fine. This time around, what we're going to do is we're going to build desks for a school in Shangombo. We have seen, pictures of students or pupils that are sitting on the floor, and calling, a dilapidated building as a classroom as well. So I do feel there's a lot that, can go towards the same money that is collected in schools as well. But the one that's collected at the police station, well, I don't know. Probably it goes back into, investment.
I've never had the opportunity, or maybe rather I've been fortunate enough not to have been in a position where I had to pay anything at the police station. So I'm not quite educated on that.
There's bail money.
I've never been taken.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying this was just like an afterthought. With the schools, I've always wondered. So this question just came in as we were reading about the money being collected. So I just wanted to know what probably use it's put at, because looking at the need that is there in the country, I think there's so much more that could be done. And I think I've noticed one of the hotels, during this COVID-19 period, has taken an opportunity to actually now restructure or work on its building as well. Just try
You're
to
referring
maintain.
to Intercontinental? No?
Yeah, it should be Intercontinental. I didn't know if I was allowed to mention it, but yes, I've noticed. And you would wonder, okay, where is the money coming from to actually do that? People may ask that, but that is not the point here. I'm just saying this is an opportunity probably for certain, institutions to actually work on their structures as well. We've had structures that have been standing for the longest period of time, and we don't even know how safe they are. When it comes to sanitation issues as well, we noted just the other week where the mayor of Lusaka had to close Manda Hill for some time because the toilets were not functional at that particular time. So I feel that there's really an urgent need somewhere when it comes to maintenance also. So Mr. Kanganja, sorry, I made a mistake and said the Honorable Minister, but Mr. Kanganja said the system will further contribute to enhancing accountability, transparency, and elimination issues to do with late banking of cash as well.
So is that for people that are employed by the police, probably police accountants or something? Since it says the banking of the payments made to the police.
I guess the police station also has an accounts department.
All right, so then what does this spell out then? So are some jobs going to be obsolete, sorry?
Well, I do feel that everyone in the force really is needed at this particular time, and everyone that is employed under the force has undergone training. So whether it's an accountant or you work as an HR, I think there is that, aspect of being, a trained officer as well. So no, I doubt if anyone's job is going to be absolute. I think everyone will still continue to play their role, especially when it comes to accounting. There's ZRA issues to be done, there's NAPSA issues to be done, and every other thing that needs to be maintained as well. So in fact, the work is even more now because there's going to be a bit more accountability when it comes to handling of finances. The books now must balance for real. Yeah. So the Inspector General also went on to say, in the view of the outbreak of the COVID-19, the system will guard the lives of the citizens as they do not have to queue up at the bank and can pay instantly wherever they may be. Okay, so I guess this is a good thing. And he also says there will be close monitoring and evaluation, when it comes to the performance of the systems as well. And one thing that I should point out is sometimes I feel that we have a certain weakness when it comes to accountability, yes, but then again maintaining of systems. And I feel that even then we need to really employ the right people that know what they are doing to actually fill in certain positions. If probably there's a well-trained, accountant out there that can do a better job than the police officer, then let them find a way in which they can just have that person, on board. Or even an independent, accounting firm also could manage the system as well. I think that could also work. And now when it comes to absolute, maybe that's when that would apply, where there's a different company that has been contracted to actually handle, the financial aspects of things. Yeah, because obviously at the end of the day, the financial statements, the books have to balance as well.
Yeah, thank you for schooling me. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for schooling me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the WHO and young people spreading the virus.
All right, so the spread of the novel coronavirus is being driven by young people aged in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who are unaware that they're infected and don't present any symptoms. So they're only presenting mild or no symptoms at all. So these are people who are spreading it, just going around. You don't even know you have it.
So meaning the immune system is on check. It's on flick.
Yes,
so
definitely.
they might not know they're going around spreading the disease as well. Okay.
All right, that's amongst the perks of being young, I think. So your immune system is all fine and good.
See why people are afraid of getting old. Because being young is just everything. I guess we have, a clip from this report.
And now we must plan and act to protect the vulnerable. And most importantly, we have to continue encouraging everyone to maintain the behaviors that protect their health and that of their family members, colleagues, and community. As my colleague reported, the epidemic is changing. People in their 20s, 30s, and 40s are increasingly driving its spread. Many are unaware they're infected with very mild symptoms or none at all. This can result in them unknowingly passing on the virus to others. This increases the risk of spillovers to the most vulnerable, the elderly, the sick, people in long-term care, people who live in densely populated urban areas, and underserved rural areas. We must redouble efforts to stop the virus from moving into vulnerable communities.
And so that is a report, an address coming in from the WHO, and that was Takeshi Kasai, the regional director for the West Pacific. And so that is what he had to say. And just to add on a bit before we actually go, apart from young people, I feel that even the people that have money are the ones that are spreading this virus. How? Because I feel that, I don't know, it's
How
not
much
proved.
money are
It's
you
not
referring to,
proved. It's not proved. But I feel that there are certain people that are found with the virus and are too scared to stay in these, in the isolation ward, especially if they're not really showing those hard symptoms. So they'll be told, okay, you have COVID-19. So do you want to be admitted or not? And I feel that people are actually given the option to actually state whether they want to be kept in the hospital or go home as well. And there are those that really need to be there, but they'll say,
No, but
go buy a drink.
No, but then again, they were given the option where they could go quarantine at their own expenses.
Yes. So now here's where them being rich comes in.
All right.
So they're supposed to be home, and then they get a call and said, "Oh, the transfer hasn't come through. So please, can you check?"
I'd like to know where you heard this
tries
story.
to check.
Eh?
No, this is just me. Tries to check online. It doesn't work. The person will walk to the bank, spread the virus all over.
This
Another
story
person
is too
will go
vivid
there.
to be imaginary. I don't think it's an imaginary.
This is how I'm really
What
looking
you
at
saw,
it.
what
This is
you-
what I'm
what
seeing.
you
I'm
saw.
imagining. No, I have some kind of, broad imagination.
Where did you
times.
hear this? Let's
I did
just
not.
go and report
No,
them.
I'm really,
Who is
really
it?
being honest. I just feel that there are certain people that I think could buy their way out of the whole idea of being in isolation. Fine, yes, they'll be told you could be positive, and they will go home. But instead of staying home, then a call comes in, there's an emergency, and they are the only ones that are able to do that as well. So if there's any way that they could have someone else do or play that role on their behalf, I think that could also be a welcome move as well. Unless you need to pay someone's salary, then you need to just call the bank and find a way of them just transferring, the money into people's accounts. So yeah,
I think this just goes back to personal responsibility and ensuring that you adhere. Even if the other person is being careless, if you protect yourself, you mask up, you avoid being in close contact with such a person, I think you're pretty safe. So I think it just goes back to personal responsibility. Ensure that you mask up, you social distance, physical distance rather,
right.
Sanitize as often as you can. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so just, do what Chimwanga has advised and what the government keeps on preaching and what is in the media as well, and what the Minister of Lusaka said on his billboard, since he cares, about us. I think really why are you laughing? That really needs to be taken seriously. It's not a laughing matter. We know when it gets to you, it's very, very, very serious. And so on that note, we come to the end of today's episode of News Report. We'll just go through the headlines for this evening. So opening schools for non-examination classes will be decided. This is a report that was coming from the NAQEZ.
All right, so the police have been ordered not to find people found not wearing masks. So
And young people driving coronavirus spread. This is a statement that was given by the WHO director as well. So on that note, this has been SALIFYANJI BWEUPE
and Chimwanga KALALA
saying good night and God bless.